Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to react to Acharya Prashant's video on veganism. For those of you who don't know who Acharya Prashant is, he is an Indian spiritual teacher and he's also a vegan, so that's a good thing. And he has a massive following on social media. Just to give you context, he has two YouTube channels, one in English, one in Hindi, and the combined subscribers on both of those channels is somewhere to the tune of 17 or 18 million. Yes, that is how big his presence on social media is. And on his channel, especially on YouTube, he talks about veganism as well. Even though that forms a small percentage of everything else that he talks about on his channel, but it's a significant bit in the sense that there is a dedicated playlist associated with veganism. So that is about Acharya Prashant. So why I'm reacting to Acharya Prashant's video, I'll explain that. But if you are not interested, then you can skip ahead, probably 1.5 minutes in the timeline. So I've never had the fortune or the need to learn about veganism from him. That being said, I like reading about philosophy, and in the past few months, I have taken interest in learning about Indic philosophy. And when it comes to Indic philosophy, most of them are written in ancient language, which is not used by most folks today. Even in India, for example, I am fluent in Hindi, but I still can't read the original scriptures. Also, the volume of literature is a lot when it comes to Indic philosophy. So the role of a teacher / translator becomes of paramount importance. So after much contemplation and inspection, I decided that Acharya Prashant ji is going to be my teacher for the next 1.5-2 years or so, where I'll be learning about Indic philosophy, specializing in Vedic literature from him through his books and content, of course. So now when on YouTube, I listen to his content, and at the same time, I listen to a lot of vegan related content. So the algorithm gives me the intersection of the two, that is vegan content from Acharya Prashant ji. And I have watched one of his videos in the past that was in Hindi, and it's an interesting take. And then I also know of some vegans who are not fond of his approach to veganism. So I thought, why not watch one video myself and see how I react to his message of veganism. So I started watching this video, which had a very interesting thumbnail and a title, and after watching it for 30 seconds, I thought, why not watch it live with you folks and give you my raw reaction to the video. So yeah, so that's the idea. So without wasting any time, let's get started.
Okay, talking about meat eating, there are some cultures, even in India, which they have, like, it's a very intrinsic part of their culture, and they have been eating meat like since time immemorial. So, what do you think? How can that mindset be changed? And, how can they change their habits? Do you think meat alternatives that are coming into the market can help them shift to?
I'm in favor of meat alternatives. Anything that saves the poor animal's life, it's okay. It's lab-grown meat, fine. It's soya chunks, fine. And I think there are some other alternatives also that taste so much like meat. Anything that saves the poor animal from that farm and that knife is welcome. See, dropping meat is not all that difficult. We make that happen every day, right? As far as our organization is concerned, we do not have an exact number, but the guesstimate is tens of thousands of people who would have dropped meat, and a relatively smaller number who would have dropped dairy as well. Let's say 50% of those who have dropped meat.
Now I'm willing to believe him on this one because, like I said, he has a massive following, and it's not just on social media. He also has his own app where people subscribe and take his courses. So if he's giving this message of stopping animal abuse through our everyday practices like eating meat and dairy, and I'm sure that there would be, even if it's a small percentage of people who are listening to him, that would amount to a good number. Like he's saying, tens of thousands. It's a lot.
And it's not as if people drop it for a while and then go back to it. We know for sure that there are people who dropped it 5 years back and have no inclination at all to revert to meat. So people will drop meat, probably you need to give them a strong enough reason, right? Had we been so mad after meat, we would have dug up corpses, right? And enjoyed their meat as well. Had we been so mad after meat, then the Muslim would have gone after pork and the Hindu would have gone after beef. But we don't do that, right? Once we have a strong reason to not consume meat, we listen. That reason is missing. Somebody needs to have the clarity and the voice and the power to bring that reason to the population. And people will listen, and I believe in the intrinsic goodness of every person. We all behave in very, very pitiable ways. We know that, we see that, oftentimes we behave as if we are absolute monsters. But still the potential to be very, very good remains within all of us. And I have faith in that. So I would not be a cynic and feel that it's Kali Yuga and it's therefore very difficult to evoke compassion inside a person, or that this current generation has gone to dogs and now nobody can rectify them. I don't subscribe to all this. I think if we can talk to them properly with due reasons and get them to act from the right center within, things can change, and things can change quite swiftly.
Last question from my side. How do you think veganism will fare in the coming years? Where do you see it going in the next couple of years, basically? How will the growth be?
Nice question.
There are two different trajectories, and the vegan movement will follow one of them or be situated at some point in the middle of them. The first trajectory is the way it is currently going. It will remain a foreign concept, a thing for the rich, a fad for the elite. That's how the general public takes it, because I'm in touch with the common populations and dealing with people on an everyday basis is what I do. So I know how they look at veganism. So that's one possibility. The other possibility is you ask yourself again and again, what is it that made India vegetarian? And the same forces that made India vegetarian will make India vegan as well. You'll have to respect those forces. You'll have to channelize those forces in your favor. Because veganism is nothing but the logical culmination of vegetarianism. Where does vegetarianism come from? The feeling that I will not kill the animal. I don't want to harm the animal.
I have a lot to say on this point specifically. I'm just jotting down the points. Let's see.
That same feeling finds its final expression in veganism. When I say killing the animal is very, very bad, but when I'm milking the animal, that too is bad. Not only that, when I'm milking the animal, I am preparing the grounds for its slaughter. So you will have to extend vegetarianism into veganism. Instead of that, I often find that vegans take vegetarianism as some kind of adversary. They say, no vegetarianism. In fact, it's a very strange thing.
I'm guilty of that. Let's see what he has to say.
I have found, I don't know whether it's a subconscious thing or what, but vegans often take vegetarians as bigger adversaries compared to even meat eaters. They say meat eaters, we can probably talk to them, but vegetarians, they are abhorrible. This is a problem, huge problem. I repeat, veganism will have to be taken as the pinnacle of vegetarianism. Vegetarianism is not an enemy. You could say vegetarianism is a work in process, and veganism is the final outcome. When you go to the people and talk in this language and explain the concept like this, then they will understand.
So Indianizing veganism should be the motto.
And spiritualizing.
Right. Thank you so much.
All right. So before I give my comment on that, would request you if what you think about this. So please let me know in the comment section that what did you think about the message from Acharya Prashant. So yeah, I do agree with his point that people need strong reason to quit meat or any other animal derived product. Now, in my opinion, that reason is the victim themselves, the way we are treating them and thinking from the victim's perspective, and that's where the idea of justice comes in. However, the examples that he gave were very interesting. He said like strong reason can be something like how a Muslim doesn't eat pork or how a Hindu doesn't eat cows, right? So that strong reason is coming from a place of religion, and that is what he was referring to. So that is an interesting take in the sense that from result perspective, it might just work out. That people think that it goes against their religious belief or for that matter any belief, and hence they don't have to consume animals. I mean, that is a way to look at it. There is merit in how that will culminate in terms of results. But I'm not sure that as an advocate, at least till date, you would have already seen my videos. I would never say something like this to the other person that you need a reason. I mean, of course, someone needs a reason, but that reason is the victim themselves, right? It doesn't have to be a certain belief system which is very mechanical in nature. Now, I think what Acharya Prashant ji is referring to, because I've seen some of his videos otherwise outside of veganism, even religion, he asked people that if you are a believer of a religion or dharma for that matter, then it should be not mechanical in nature. So one should really think about why there are certain belief systems, right? And I think he is extending the same logic here. But unfortunately, most people in today's day and age follow religion just because it has to be followed, right? There is no critical thinking behind why certain rituals and practices that has to be followed. I think there is that gap. If I try to steelman his argument, that is if I try to take the strong side of his pointer, I think he is coming from that place where he wants people to take religion from a critical thinking space, and from that same space even think of veganism, and the victim's perspective will inadvertently come in. But in today's day and age, especially if I have to go by the interactions that I have on a daily basis, what I see around, I don't think people take religion in that light. I totally agree with his point that human beings are decent beings and he is hopeful of them. I have said this many a times that I believe that being compassionate is the default position for most people. Violence is a learned behavior, so complete agreement there. Where it gets interesting is that vegan movement will take two trajectories. One is in the current form where it is seen as a foreign concept, where it is seen as an elite or a fad diet thing. So I completely agree with that. In fact, as an activist, this is what I keep telling people, that veganism is not about diet. It's not a Western concept per se. Even the word has been coined in the West. Being non-violent, that is the value of ahimsa, that is very central to the existence of Indians, right? So I don't think it's a Western concept. And I've said this so often that because of the way veganism is portrayed on mainstream media and also on social media by some folks who are plant-based dietitians or plant-based nutritionists or plant-based cooks, because of their massive following on social media, veganism is perceived as a diet and as a fad, and that notion has to be broken. Moving on to the next point. Now, this is where I think the way I do activism today, I'm on completely different side of what he said. He said that vegetarianism is the stepping stone to veganism, and a vegan, on the other hand, is someone who sees vegetarians and non-vegetarians in the same light, or even they can see vegetarians as worse. I'm someone who see as vegetarians and non-vegetarians in the same light. Based on this video, which is like 8-9 minutes long, I think he is referring to vegetarianism. What I mean by that is that people in India were probably vegetarian to begin with because of the value of ahimsa. Now that is my guess. I'm not well read on the origins of vegetarianism, but I think that is what he's referring to. And if that is the vegetarianism that he's referring to, then yes, veganism in a way becomes the logical conclusion. It becomes the pinnacle of ahimsa, non-violence, right? So I totally understand that point of view. However, while doing my advocacy, I don't see vegetarians and non-vegetarians in different light, because in today's day and age, vegetarian and non-vegetarian is just a diet in India for most people. unless someone is again thinking about their religious practices from a space of critical thinking, it is just a family tradition of diet that has been taken up in the next generation. It is very common in India. You would have also seen some examples where teenagers who are coming from a vegetarian family are vegetarian up until the age of 18 or so, and once they move out to pursue their higher studies and they go to a hostel, they start consuming animal flesh because of peer pressure. They were vegetarian because they thought of it as a diet. There wasn't any value of non-violence or justice associated with them, and hence it was easy for them to even consume animal flesh. And hence, in today's day and age, as an activist, I never talk about vegetarianism because I don't think the concept of vegetarianism exists today. Even in the West, if we talk about some of the authors like Carol Adams, who in her book, The Sexual Politics of Meat, has talked about vegetarianism. Now, she's also referring to vegetarianism as a concept which is based on non-violence, and I think he's also referring to the same. Philosophically speaking, maybe I don't disagree with him, but on the application of what it is today, that is vegetarian and non-vegetarian, in my opinion, from whatever observations I've had, I think of them just as diet. And veganism, like I've said so many times, is a social justice movement whose aim is to abolish animal slavery. And I know that he's also coming from that same space because, like he said in the beginning of the video, he said that he's fine with mock meat or any other alternative that is going to save the life of the innocent animals. That means that he's thinking from the victim's perspective. I think our approaches are different because of our worldview. As long as we get to veganism for the right reasons, that is by thinking from the victim's perspective, it is completely fine by me. But do let me know in the comment section that what you think about Acharya Prashant's method of vegan advocacy, that it has to be spiritual in nature when it comes to India. I think I'll get more clarity when I watch more of his videos, even though that is not the priority right now. But when I do and I form a more organized thought around his message, I think I'll make a separate video on that. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please support this channel in whichever way you want to. Some of the easier methods are by liking and sharing this video. And if you have not already subscribed, then please subscribe. And if you have subscribed but not hit the bell notification icon, then please do that, as that really helps the channel with the algorithm. And until we meet again, this is Shivam signing out. Namaste.